Good evening, everyone. Today we will be learning how JVM handles the exception and how your program has been programmed in such a way that it is not throwing your program to go away out of JVM when it is executing. If you have seen my previous video of working of JVM with respect to Hello World program, I'll be taking the support of the same thing to explain you people on the working of JVM and how this try-catch block works. So let me go with one simple. The first thing what we people have to know is anything which is being here, which is try, all the statements in the try will execute one after this. It's not only Java program, every programming language works or runs line by line. So this is the line which will be picked, run it, pick this line, run it, try block will be executed. When it is executing this in the JVM, because JVM runs on different operating systems, the bytecode will be interpreted line by line to convert it into the underlying operating system's architecture. So for this architecture, so let me take an example now and let me clear all the annotations first. Okay. Now let me take an example. So this is my operating system, correct? So in the Hello World program also I mentioned the same. This is my operating system. In this example, it is Windows 10. And this is my JVM. I'm just going with the shape of oval, which is JVM. And as you people know, when we type the command javac filename.java, this gets compiled. It will give me, sorry, it is javac filename.java, and then we need to go with Java command with the class name. Very importantly, it should be class name. So when we place this command in the command prompt, this command will pick the file, which is the class file, and this will be placed in the JVM. This is our JVM. So it will execute the first one, which prints start of main. I am printing only the statements. Start of main. Then try block starts executing, which is start of try. And since based on this command, I did not specify any input here. So this statement is an exception because it is trying to access an index 0. Since we have not given any input, this index 0 is not created, means array size itself is 0. Now JVM will create an object. So let me draw it in the blue line. JVM will create an object. When I create an object, it means that it is coming from a class, and based on the error type, based on the exception type, I cannot call it as error because error is also a class in Java. This object which was been created is thrown out of the JVM. I don't want to run this project. So what happened when it is throwing this object? In this example, the object was array index out of bounds exception. That is the class, and the object is created for that class. That has been created and thrown. Immediately from this step, it jumped into catch block because now we have catch block, and this is the parent of all the exception classes. When the JVM has thrown that object, since it is the parent of all the exception classes, it handled it. It took that exception object, it placed it into it, and then it executed this. This was not executed at all. From catch block, you cannot go back to try block. This is how JVM is throwing it. That's what happened with the program which we created for the first time. Let me show you that program and how it was try catch exception example on the exception. Let me open this program. This was the original program, and now it is improvised to make this one. Start of try, end of try is only for you people to make it simpler and understand. If this and this works successfully, catch block will not execute. So every time when there is an exception, remember one thing, there is an exception class, and for that class object is created by the JVM itself, and it is throwing it. It is throwing it, which we call it as implicit throw. Today or in the next video, we will be learning how explicit throw will be done by the programmer. Explicit throw means an object should be created by a programmer of an exception class and throw it. What is this? It is an implicit throw. Means JVM will create an object of the exception or any respective exception class, and then it throws it. If you want to create your own exception class, you can create it by inheriting this class. That is the exception class. The next important thing to know is the tree structure of the exceptions. Let me draw it with the square bracket. So we have throwable object. Throwable class, and it is inherited into two different classes. One is the exception class itself, which we are handling as a chapter, exception class. There is one more class called error class. These are the two child classes. Usually I'll write arrow on the parent side. So who is the parent? Throwable is the parent. Who is the child? Error is the child. And all the other errors will fall under exception. Like the exceptions, array index out of bounds, or any other which we have seen before. Every exception class ends with the name array index out of bounds. Array index out of bounds. All these are the exceptions. Every exception class ends with the name exception. There are error. So usually error classes you will not find in your syllabus when you are learning it. So let's try to cover it when we get a chance. But for now, we need to understand this tree structure, and let me show you all these tree structures also. So let me begin with the class throwable. How to check the tree structure? Java P command. Java P space java.lang. One more point to be remembered is whatever we are learning now, like data types, inheritance, overriding, exception handling, threads, string class, integer class, all these come under a package called lang, which is the first package which we are learning. Directly or indirectly, we are learning the package called java.lang. In future, we will be learning java.sql, java.networking, that is java.net, java.swings, java.awt, and many other packages. Okay. So now let me show you people something called throwable. This is how you need to do. So you can see this. This is compiled from throwable.java file. It's a public class. Throwable implements something called serializable, which is coming from a IO package, java.io. So now let me show you the child of this throwable exception. If you observe this exception, let me take a pointer here. Public class java.lang. Java.lang is the package. Exception is the class which is extending throwable. Means throwable is a parent. Now, since we have learned inheritance in the previous videos, we know that when we use extends keyword, class extending a class. So who is the parent of exception? It is throwable. Let me show you one more, which is an error class. Error is also a class in Java, and error is also a class which is inherited from throwable. Means throwable is the parent of exception class and error class. Means exception and error are siblings. Make sense? Perfect. Now let me try to show you one more class, Java P, and now I'll go with runtime exception. Runtime exception. So runtime exception is a child of exception. Now let us see what is array index out of bounds. Array index out of bounds exception. I would like to explain today about the naming convention. So what is that we need to understand here is array index out of bounds is a child of index out of bounds exception. Let me take this and let me see who is the parent of index out of bounds. Awesome. Now we got the link. Index out of bounds is the parent of, is the child of runtime. Runtime is the child of exception. Exception is the child of throwable. Throwable is the child of, serializable. Okay. That is how the tree structure goes. So make use of Java P command also. Make sense? Awesome. So let me stop this recording. This is how the tree structure of exception handling is there. So we will be learning more about it. That is throw keyword, which is the explicit throw from a programmer. And then in the third video, we'll be learning about the throws keyword, which is available in C#, which is not available in C#, but it is available in Java language. You can learn these two languages in parallel. So thank you very much for watching this video.